Well, a very good evening to what is promising to be a fascinating talk. Let's talk about the soul and the very nature of being, and a very warm welcome to Darren Hart.
Good evening, everybody.
Thank you so much for agreeing to do this with us, Darren. Now, Darren is a very well-known medium and healer, not only in the UK, but also overseas. And he runs the Darren Hart School of Mediumship and also the Barnham Spiritual Centre. Darren loves every aspect of helping and healing souls, particularly at times of life when that is really needed. And he's particularly supportive of those who are touched by grief. Darren has always been aware of the spirit world around him and has a vast knowledge of the spirit world and an amazing psychic ability, and is also a spiritual healer. And he's also a psychic counsellor as well. So we get the full package with Darren, which is excellent. Darren's teachings come from a place of love and understanding. And Darren, thank you so much for doing this little session with us this evening, because I think the soul is an absolutely fascinating topic and one that is always useful to find out more about. So perhaps if we could start off with, what is the soul?
Firstly, may I say what a wonderful introduction. Thank you, Alison.
Oh, you're most welcome. Thank you.
That was a very wonderful introduction. Thank you. So good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us here this evening. And firstly, I must say that one of my passions is the soul. And I've spent many years on looking and trying to work out and investigate really what the soul is, because everybody talks about it. Everyone says about, when you pass to the spirit world, the soul goes to the spirit world. And quite often when I was a lot younger, I used to think, what is the soul? What is it? Where is it? What is it something that is it locked inside of us? Or so I thought I'm going to go on a little bit of a mission here, and over many years I've investigated on what the soul is, and of course speaking with the spirit world, it's all a combined logging of information, and it fascinates me. It really does. And of course when we look at the soul, because when we look at life itself, it's very complex in how life is. But when we look at the soul itself, it announces the word spirituality. It announces the word spirit. And of course, if as some people, they don't quite understand, maybe that, we all understand a lot more about spirituality and the soul than a lot of people. So, some people really don't have an idea of what it is. But when we look at the soul, it's the essence of who we really are. It's the spiritual soul that is everything that we can be, what we will be, and what we are at that point of life. And the soul is encased within a physical body. So if I to start at the beginning and explain a little bit to you how that works, is that we come from spirit. We are blessed with the power of life. We come down into the physical world, and basically we're dropped into a physical body. Now, what happens is that the soul is encased in this physical body because the physical body belongs to the physical world, which runs on a very slow vibration. And of course, the soul belongs to the spirit world and the spiritual essence of the spirit world. And that runs on a very fast vibration. So the soul cannot exist within the power of the physical world without being encased inside of the physical body. So when you look at it, it's like really as if you put on a glove, and it's the glove of the physical body that encases the soul. Now, the soul isn't something that sits inside. It's a power, it's an energy, and it's a vibration. Now, when we look at the vibration of the soul, it contains everything about us, all of our memories, our personality, every part of us, our levels of emotions. It holds every part of our spirituality. It holds every part of our personality. Now, when we're born, we're born very how can I put it? It's that the soul is very, very spiritual. Let me put it that way. The soul is encased in spirituality. Now, when we're born, there's nothing that blemishes the soul. So hence why, as children, we're quite often being able to see the spirit world, because we haven't had any impregnations of a physical world at that point. So everything becomes natural to us, and we have the freedom. And within the freedom, we are being able to we're being able to form the soul from that point onwards. So as we start to grow up, and as we start to be conditioned by this world, conditioned by the people that's in this world, it could be our parents, it could be anybody that's around us at that point, is we all have input. They all have their input into our life. And this is what starts to form the essence of the soul. So it's like a download system, really. And everything that we put into it is what it contains. So as we start to move through the power of our life, then what happens is that we can either remain very in touch with the soul. We can either remain very in touch with the spirituality of life, or we can actually be more encased within the physical existence of life, in which case then the soul becomes to be more captured by the existence of the physical world. So what happens is that if you're in touch with the soul, and you are in touch with the presence of the belief of God, and you're in touch with the presence of the belief of the spirit world, then that helps us to be able to contain that part of spirituality. Because as we get older, the spirituality part of us, it's like as it gets a little bit painted over by the physical world. We start off very strong, but it's like as if we get painted over by the physical world. And what happens is that our life then becomes led very much within the physical presence. And of course, then we're conditioned. So in our lives, we're very much heavily conditioned to experience love and hate, and we experience many other forms of where we see a difference between what we can be or what we are. And of course, as we start to move through the world, through our life, then it's up to us what we condition the soul with. And the soul is part of the essence of the spirit. So the soul and the spirit is slightly different until such times as when we move into the spirit world, then we become more spirit. But at the point of being here, we're more soul, and the soul is who we are. So as we move up into our world, the more we condition it as in the presence of spirituality, the strength of love, and the belief in the presence of love, then we hold and retain that power. And that power is that we can touch the essence of who we are. Now, some people say, oh, you've got to be kind to everybody in this world. And it's very much conditioned by wording, but the power is what's within. And as we struggle to go through the physical part of our life, then we have to understand that we need to touch that inner core. Now, the inner core is love. And if we can feel the presence of love within us, then we will be able to carry on and present the whole world within our reach and within our reason, that we can then start to touch the presence of love that's around us. And we can then start to be able to not condition, but we can offer through freedom the presence of love. Now, when we look at the soul, it's the power, it's the light, it's the brightness of who we are. If you was to take away the physical body, you would be left with the aura, which is the vibration of who we are. Now, in the aura is the presence of spirituality. Now, we've often heard when people say the power of your light is unbelievable. The presence of spirit guide us through the presence of our light. Now, the stronger the light is, the purer that you really, really are. That's the purity of who you really, really are. So in this world, if you have people that want to go around and create wars, and they want to be able to be, and they hurt other people in that presence, then what happens is that they become less in touch with that presence of love, and they become more conditioned by the physical world. So their belief system, and of course their the way that they see the soul becomes a lot more distant from them. So actually the soul to them probably doesn't exist so heavily as what it does to the people that actually feel the presence of the soul. And what happens is they then start to condition their world in the way that they believe it. So if we believe in the presence of spirituality and God within that, within the power of love, then we will emanate this in all of our lives. And that's how we start to understand the presence of the soul. But the soul is the making of you. Now, when we say the making of you, it's because we're all part of a consciousness, the power of consciousness, and we live and we work and we live in an understanding of a physical world that seems to strive through certain conditions. Now, when we see the presence of the soul within these conditions, we start to make determinations whether we want to be part of things or whether we don't. You're guided by the soul. You're guided by the power of love. Now, it's a very quick example is that, if you love somebody and you really do love them, then you would never bring anything to them. You'd never hurt them. You'd never harm them. You'd never do anything that would affect them, because the love that you have for that soul is the love that you have for you. So the more that we love ourselves, we are then being able to condition ourselves to feel the presence of love for other people. That's where the spiritual part of us comes from. Because if we understand what love is and we know what love is and we love ourselves, we can pass that on to other people. Does that make sense?
It does make a lot of sense. So you talk about the soul coming into our body sort of as we prepare to carnate.
Yes.
Is there a particular place in our body where it hangs out? Is it located in a particular area?
I'd like to think that it's
a friend, obviously.
I'd like to think that it sits on top of the shoulders, but as we have a physical body, then we have a biochemistry system. So if you can understand that the soul is part of all of the making of the physical body, so it's like if you was to get so a very quick example is if you had a sieve and you filled it with soil, but you also put in there bigger rocks and you shook it, then the bigger rocks will stay because they can't go through the holes, but the soil will fall through the holes. But what it's like is if the soul is part of the physical body, so it's the power of the vibration. So it's an energy system that is actually part of the physical body. Does that make sense? And it's all part of the making of the mind, is part of the consciousness that elevates all around the physical body. So it's actually part of us. They've actually done tests many, many years ago, and they said when the person died, they reckoned that at that point of passing, that they weighed the person, and then when they passed, they reckoned within half an hour the body weighed 2 pounds lighter.
Wow.
And they feel that's the power of the soul that moved, because even though it's vibration, there is still some element of weight towards it. Does that make sense?
I was with my mum when she passed, and I noticed after she had passed, for a little while I could see this layer above her body, like it was surrounding it.
Yeah, that's the soul.
And I saw that it stayed for a little while, and then I had to go and get the system. When I came back, I couldn't see it.
Yeah, that's the soul. So as the soul leaves the physical body at the point of death, then as it leaves, it moves into the vibration. And of course, as it's leaving, it doesn't just go and away it goes. That's the consciousness, but the soul is part of the consciousness. And what it does is it starts to move into vibration. So it accommodates and adapts to the vibration of the spirit world. So at the point of death, then, some of us like yourself are very fortunate to be able to see the soul moving through vibration. So we can see the soul as a white vibration. So, that's how we see it. It's through the energetic point of white vibration. So as the soul starts to move and release from the physical body, then until it's completely moved into the vibration of spirit, then it can be physically seen, and it is visible. And of course, when people pass, we know, because we say, well, I can still feel them here. And then all of a sudden, at some point, you'd say, well, I don't feel them anymore, because you can't feel the vibration of their soul, because again, that's through the psychic senses that we have, that we can pick up the feeling of vibration, the feeling of the soul. Do you see what I mean? So it is part of the making of the physical body, because it emanates through all of us, but it is vibration. So it's not a matter, it's a vibration, it's an energy. So it's not as in, like, say, if you look at muscle, that's a matter, but it's not of that. It's just a vibration that is actually emanating all the way through the whole
and presumably the soul stays with the spirit while it remains in the spirit world.
Yes. So what happens is that when we pass to the spirit world, the spirit world is the most beautiful place that it'll ever, but beyond all comprehension, it is an absolute wonderful place, and of course we'll see that when we go there. But it's a nice feeling to know that it's part of somewhere which is an ongoing part of eternal life. So what happens is that as we move into the presence of let's call it the spirit world, as we move into the presence of the spirit world, the soul goes there. Now, what people say, life is about learning lessons, and I don't feel that naturally feels right for me, because I feel that a lesson needs to have a beginning and an end and a reward, and I don't feel that life should be gauged upon reward. I feel that life is experience, and I feel that when we come here, we can experience this beautiful world that we've got, and it's up to us how we accommodate the ways that we are here, and it's up to us how we want to maybe build upon that level of spirituality and stay the purity of what we are and who we are. So as we move into the spirit world, then we are giving an opportunity there for the eternal progression of life. Now, as we move into the spirit world, we take everything with us. So, but after a period of time, now what happens is because the spirit world is pure spirit, and this world isn't pure spirit, then you live and breathe everything from the spirit world. So what happens is you start to educate yourself a lot more through the presence of spirituality. And what happens is we start to move from soul to spirit. So it becomes essence of spirit. So they're both particularly the same in so many words. If we can try and put it into words, they're both pretty well much the same, but the soul becomes the spirit, and the spirit is through the levels of spirituality, and we only obtain that from how we have conditioned ourselves to understand the presence and power of love while we're here on the physical earth. So if we look at a simple anatomy of a lady that doesn't understand spirit, she's not interested, she doesn't understand God. Once you're dead, you're dead. That's the way she sees things. Then when she moves into the presence of the spirit world, then she'll never be advanced in that spiritual part, in that spirituality, because she hasn't done so much work here. Does that make sense? Now, if you get somebody, say, like ourselves, that work all the time, and we're always looking at being able to become more purer towards ourselves and everyone around us, then we have an understanding better of spirituality. So we're doing a lot of, say, groundwork while we're here. So when we're going into the spirit world, we have an idea that we could be a little bit more knowledgeable and a little bit more brighter light when we go to the spirit world, so that we can move ourselves into the realms of the spirit. So what happens is that when we move into the realms of the spirit, so when we go into the spirit world, we're very much still attached to the physical existence within mind. So we remember everything about this world, and it's only through periods of time and levels of knowledgeable spirituality that we become a little bit more advanced within purity. So we start to become a little bit more purer. So the existence of, let's just say, the connection back to the physical world becomes a little bit more moved away from us. So we become a little bit more advanced within the realms of the spiritual world. And once we start to move into the realms of the spiritual world, then we start to become, we don't lose ourselves, because we are who we are and our personality remains with us, but we start to lose that little bit more of understanding that this world was full of hatred or hurt. So we start to become more pure. Does that make sense?
Are souls different colours? The reason I ask that is because sometimes I've seen spirit, or what I believe to be spirit.
Yeah.
Sometimes I've seen them as white, grey, wispiness.
Yeah.
Sometimes I've seen them more golden, and sometimes I've seen black figures.
Black figures.
Mm.
Okay, so what you have to understand is that in the physical world, then we can have residual energy. So we have a thing called residual energy, which is an energy that's left behind here by the presence of a soul that was once here. So, if we was to walk down the same road every single day, then we're impregnating our energy in the existence of the energy of that say that road. So what can happen is that energy can then be seen, and a lot of people say it's a ghost. So ghosts can be seen through residual energy, and some people say our ghost spirit. Well, it's a very complex. It's a very, very complex answer. Now, I believe that ghosts are more residual energy and not so much of the essence of spirit. But again, this is why when we say, if you go to a great big a mansion house, and they say, oh, quite often you'll see the ghost coming down the stairs, but you'd never see her anywhere else, because that's where the residual energy is starting to form itself, and so that it's more visible to the physical eye. But when we look at the power of the energetic field, then the makings of there is color. There is color, because we can identify people's energetic fields, their aura, through the presence of color. So there is color within there, but the brightest of the light will be the purest of the white energetic divine power. And that's what we will become when we're within the presence of the spirit world. But to the physical eye, we can clairvoyantly see color. We can see color within the aura. Now, again, that's something that's perceivable to us, and we can psychically read that color as well. So there is color within the presence of the aura.
And so when souls pass to spirit, do they ever become orbs that shoot around the room, or is that something completely different?
No, orbs do exist. Yeah, they're energy. So you can see faces in orbs. You can see them. They are present. And I have seen some fantastic orbs. And of course, for the spirit world to come back to our world, there is that shift in vibration. They have to move into that vibration. So the orb is the essence of the energy. So the orbs exist as an energy. And of course, that would be the spiritual part of the soul that can actually come back and be present within the physical world. And of course, they can't manifest themselves in that way into a physical form. So they come back into the presence of an orb, which is the energy. And sometimes, you can be mistaken for energy. Energy flashes. It can just be, the presence of energy flashes, but an actual orb will be the presence of the soul, presence of someone there, basically speaking. And the belief is that that's how they can come from spirit back into the physical world without actually manifesting into a physical form. So orbs do exist. They are there, and sometimes we can see some fantastic orbs and many, many beautiful colors of the energy that creates them orbs. And again, that goes back to the energy of the energetic field around us as well, because it's all color. It's all manifesting through the presence of color.
Do those colors mean anything? So I've seen beautiful golden orbs, I've seen white orbs, and I've seen cobalt blue orbs.
Wonderful. Now, the presence of the spirituality of the person could actually be the presence of the color that's within the orb. So it can be that the purity of somebody as they come closer to this world can be seen within the presence of a beautiful blue. And it can be that it can be, moved into the presence of a golden energy as well. So yes, they can be presented through the presence of the strength, I would say the strength of the presence of the soul as it moves closer to the physical world.
Taking us back now to when the souls come to Earth to incarnate.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of talk around, we're here. This is like Earth School, and there's a reason we're here. There's a purpose we're here. How do you find out what your soul purpose is?
Well, I think a soul purpose is an eternal, not an eternal. It's a progression of life. It's a progression of life. I don't feel the soul purpose is captured and contained to a physical world. I believe that when we come here, this world has to offer many different facets, what the soul can experience. Because, of course, there's other dimensions of consciousness out there, and no doubt through the progression of eternal life, we will experience them as we go along. But the actual physical world gives us an opportunity to understand what love is. And of course, love is the power of all life. And when we come to this world, some people say, oh my God, I've lost so many people, and why me, why me, why me? I don't feel that there's a rhyme or reason for that. I feel sometimes that's just the presence of life. I don't feel that some people are dealt certain cards so that they can experience so much more emotion than others. But I feel that this world is offering us the presence of feeling the power of emotion so that we can start to build the foundations of the soul so that the soul is experiencing the presence of love. It can experience the presence of emotion so that we can understand what it's like to love someone. So we can understand the difference of what it's like so that when somebody passes to the spirit world, we can feel the presence of how we feel about them and how we love them. So again, it's like this soul journey. Along this soul journey is a place of progression. And this is an eternal journey. And it may be that we're here a very short period of time on the earth. We're not here very long at all. If we said we live till 90 or 80 or 70, it's years are only captioned and made by man. But the actual progression through the presence of eternal life, that's nothing. So, of course, we're here for a flash in the pan. We experience the presence of love. We take this love with us to the spirit world. And then we can progress forwards in our soul desire of life and journey. And of course, when we're here, we feel the presence of wanting to help and heal people. Now, we're all born in the same way. Now, have you ever seen a child when as they're growing up, they can be very affectionate. Children can be very affectionate. They can come up to you and they always want hugs and hugs and hugs because that's what they experience and that's what they like. And of course, that resembles the presence of love because the soul comes from that power of love. So it's going back to the presence of what it knows. So all the time that we can condition the soul within the presence of love, we can actually understand why we're here. And as long as we stay in contact with the presence of love, then we'll start to build a soul journey. Now, when we look at the life, when we look at our life and we say to ourselves, why am I here? What am I here for? We're all very conditioned to understand from other people's experiences of why we're here. But I feel that when we touch the essence of within, then it gives us a little bit more of an idea. And sometimes I don't feel that we would know exactly the soul desire, but I feel that the more you understand the presence and power of love and God, then it gives you a little bit more of an understanding about your true meaning of why you're here. Now, we could say, well, I want to be a healer. Well, words are cheap. Power is where the true essence of healing happens because it has to come from within here. We can't be a healer on a Wednesday and hate everyone on a Friday. There has to be this ongoing presence, and that's because we're touched by divine power of love. And to be a healer, to be somebody that can heal all aspects of life. It's not just lending someone £5. It's the whole purpose of healing is the presence and power of being able to provide somebody with a different standard of life than what we have to ourselves, because some people's lights shine a little bit less bright than ours, and we're there to help them. And then this ongoing soul progression is the purpose of life. And of course, we experience presence of life within there, but the whole soul purpose of life for me is to find the true essence of help towards others in the presence of a physical life, and so that we can embark upon a journey of touching the presence of God and life form as it is every day.
So we have spirit guides who help us on our way whilst we're here. Do they have souls?
Yes, the spirit guides are people that was once here. They've all
Okay.
experienced the physical world. You know, everyone that's gone into the spirit world have all come from a physical world. You know, they've all been here. You know, if we look at, you know, White Feather and Red Cloud, and they've all had an experience of the physical world here. Now, because again, this is what we talk about spirituality. And sometimes when we read some of the stuff that they presented through their philosophy or inspiration into this world, you think, oh my God, that's lovely, that's powerful. But that again comes from the essence and the power of true belief. And of course, that comes from love, the love presented through the power of word that touches the soul of another. And of course, the spirit guides, you know, we call them guides, but they're our friends. They, you know, they're part of us. They're part of our life every single day. And they're here to embark upon a journey of, yes, guiding us. Now, guiding us through presentation of communication from the spirit world, but also being present around us in everyday life. Because sometimes things occur and you think, oh, how did I get away with that? You know, and there's a little guide up in heaven going, I helped you there, but you don't know it was me. And of course, they're there to help us upon our journey of life as well. But they were all once here. They're all power. They're all soul. And of course, you know, when they go upon their journey in the spirit world, they advance much more deeper within spirituality. And of course, that's why they can, you know, that's why we can sort of call them a guide, because maybe they're more advanced in spirituality than what we are. Hence why they put us into positions to, you know, to light the flame, if you know, to light the flame in areas where we can maybe embark upon more inspiration about the power of love and life. But yeah, there was all here.
Certainly, I know I've had times where something wonderful has happened that has been totally unexpected on my behalf, and which I've not actively gone after in any way whatsoever. And it's happened so amazingly that I kind of look up and think, I know that was you. I know that was you. It wasn't me.
Yeah, there's been so many situations in this world where some people go, oh my God, that was a guardian angel. It must have been. Of course, angels are all present. It's all power. It's all love. It's the, you know, it's the essence of God and the power of love that, you know, that gives us different opportunities to you know, to feel the presence of different consciousness that help. And that's the power of healing, because the spirit world is healing. The whole presence of love is healing. And of course, you know, they shower down on this world to help us at many opportunities in the hope that our world can become more embraced within the presence and power of love. And it's an ongoing journey for them. And I think when they're up there, they must go, oh my God, they're at it again. They're all fighting down there. I thought we dropped a little cloud of love down there last week. Come on, let's work harder. They're all at it again. And they must look at it and think to themselves, oh no. But, you know, it's an ongoing eternal progression. And that's because love is very, very new to everybody at that point. But of course, you know, we're unwrapping it every single day through the presence of every day and finding different powers and reasons of what love is. As long as we don't ignore love, we'll always be present within the power of love. And that's the main thing.
So, as souls, do we have soul families?
Yes, because, you know, when we look at, you know, if we look at life itself, it's consciousness. It all comes from the power of consciousness. Now, you know, a lot of people are conditioned to think, you know, you're just an individual person. Now, there is individuality with us, but we're all part of an ongoing soul progress. And of course, we all move into the different, it's like we're all part of the same consciousness, but the physical body separates us as in physical form. But actually, no, we're all part of the essence and the power of consciousness. So it's like when people say, you know, oh my God, I thought of you yesterday, and, you know, and I see you today. And it's all present within the power of consciousness. So we have soul family. You know, our journeys before we came here, you know, we don't always have an idea of what we was up to and where we were and what we done. All we know is that we're present here. But, you know, the power and the presence of ongoing eternal life allows us to feel and touch different consciousness at different points. But we have all got a soul family. But it may be that the family that we have now in a physical form is all part of the facet of consciousness of our soul family. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So do animals have souls? And if so, are their souls any different to our souls?
They have a soul. Absolutely. Every single living thing in this world is all got a soul. It's all got an energetic field. And bless our little animal kingdom. They've got a wonderful soul. They really have. And it's the same as ours. All they have is a different physical attribute to how they experience this world. But if you get a dog and you get that dog from a puppy and you have it so it's 12 and 14 years of age, that dog has been conditioned to live the life that you allow it to live. Now, if it didn't have a soul, it wouldn't be able to resemble the presence of what we have to offer it. Now, of course, the dog forms itself, its own soul, like we do. So if you love a little doggy from when it's born, that little doggy will be no end of unconditional love towards you. But they have a lovely little soul, and all souls present go to the spirit world when they pass. So every little doggy, cat, hamster, rabbit, bird, everything that we've ever had here all goes into the spirit world, and they exist exactly the same as what they do here in the spirit world, because it's soul. It can't be destroyed. It's energy, it's presence, it's consciousness. It cannot be destroyed. So our lovely little animal kingdom all have a soul. Of course they do. Absolutely.
I've got a friend who's got a beautiful little dog called Bella. And Bella and I have had a connection from the get-go.
Mm.
And quite often, when she sees me, she'll ignore her owner and come running to me and stay with me for as long as I'm with them. To the point that the owner goes, "She's my dog. She's my dog," and she's with me.
Give her back.
But with this dog, there is such a strong bond and an understanding, even though she can't speak English. And it feels like we've been together before.
Yeah. Yeah. If you can look at something like this, Alison, when we're born, we all go to school, we all, everyone teaches us how to read and write and to look and to listen. And that's the general purpose of progression in a physical body. That's what we have to do in order for us to grow up. But the soul is, because the soul is separate in consciousness, then that little doggy may at some point have connected to your consciousness in a different scenario. So the physical body is conditioned, but the soul is conditioned in a different way as well. So if you can understand it, that's why you've got this magnetization towards the soul of the little doggy, because maybe there's a resemblance from something that's happened before. There's a connection. Do you see what I mean? There's a connection there, but the physical body is one part, the soul is the essence of the other part. But without being able to condition the physical body, then the soul grows. It can grow differently in such a way. It's like one of my anatomies is that if there was a man born and he was put in a round room and he didn't have a window, and he was his food was put in through a hatch, and he lived, didn't speak to anyone, didn't see anyone, and he lived to the age of 25, and then all of a sudden they opened up a door and let him out. Where would that man be in himself? He would certainly have no idea about being able to understand a physical world, but the purity of his soul, it must be absolutely wonderful. It must be virgin. It must be absolutely beautiful, because he's never had any conditioning or impregnation from a physical world. He's never seen anything horrible on the telly. He's never understood what war is. So the purity of him can only advance in such a way that the love that he would have for himself will be what he passes on to the world when he pops outside. Do you see what I mean? And of course, it's this world is how we allow it to affect us in the purity of how we are as a soul. Do you see what I mean?
So to give a possible scenario, say there's a person in your life, be it at work or wherever, who you don't get on with, and there's friction between you, possibly arguments, that there's a bad energy between you. Is there anything you can do at a soul level that will help that situation?
See, a lot of times what we have to understand is that when you touch the soul, physicality always demands that we have to answer it in such a way that we're conditioned to understand. Oh, if they're horrible to you, don't talk to them. You know, that's what the physical part of us is conditioned. But when we look at the presence of the soul, and you know, sometimes we don't get on with people because there's more to it. There's something more. Now, it may be that our soul has got to offer them something. That's why they're present with us at that point of our life, and at points of their life. Because again, it's like we're the teacher. We all teach each other. And it may be because your soul has something to touch them more deeper within the presence of their soul, and not within a physical retaliation. Do you see what I mean? Sometimes if you've ever had a situation where you know, some people, you know, they're always, you know, always angry and horrible, blah, blah, blah. And sometimes, you know, you can touch the essence of their soul, and without demanding any physical presence to them, but you can touch the essence of their soul, and it can change something just like that in them. And it can be that you have to search for that. And it may be that you have to have a little look for it, go beyond the physical side of stuff, but maybe have a little look for it and think, do you know what? I'm going to take this upon myself to help you. That's what I'm going to do, because I know that I have something within my soul that I will be able to ignite a little bit more of a brighter light in yours. And I'm going to take this upon myself to do it.
And that's a beautiful purpose in a relationship, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, that is. So, you know, as the spirituality starts to impress itself upon us in our life, we start to unravel the presence of love within the soul. And it's there that we look for, not there. Don't ever look up there, because that will always tell you to do one thing. But if you go within and ask the soul, say to the soul, why am I present with this person? What do I need to offer them to help them? There's something there, soul. Inspire me to put this right for them. Because it may be that you only have to give them one word or two or 100 words. It doesn't matter what it is, but somewhere will embark them on their journey, and with hope that the presence of talking to the soul and not the mind, that will help them to be able to see the wood from the trees. And maybe it just needs to see that they need to touch love. Maybe they need to touch a little essence of love. But you, being the purity of listening to the power of the soul, your soul, you should be able to offer them that.
And sometimes it may be because they've had circumstances in their life that's made them put barrier after barrier after barrier around them.
Yeah.
And it's such a tough barrier to get through.
Yeah.
But once you're through, you can see the soft center.
Absolutely. It's like you've got to get a drill and get in there. And once you're in there, you go, there's your little soul. Now I can talk to you. Now my presence of light will touch your light, and let's get rid of that physicality, because that's how you've been conditioned to believe in, and confrontation. And that's what you think is right. But let me just get in there. And eventually you will do. And, you know, maybe sometimes in life, you know, it may be that you're not always present at that time to see the result. But it may be 5 years later, that person actually is presented with the same situation, and they say to themselves, actually, I'm going to see if I can help this person, because somebody helped me once. That is how we interweave the woven tapestry of life, because that's where we start to stitch everything together through the presence of love. And that's how we start to be able to offer our world something a little bit different. Instead of being in the hatred realms, let's offer the world something within the presence of love. And it may be that they don't see it at that point, but they may do it a little bit further along the line. And that person then may do it somewhere further along the line. And before you know it, you're starting to impress the power of love and positivity in amongst people's lives and in amongst people's worlds.
I saw an interview that Marianne Williamson did once, and she was being asked, how do you treat your enemy in a spiritual way? And she said, pray for their happiness.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a beautiful answer.
Pray for their happiness. Absolutely. Everything is all conquered through the power and presence of prayer. It really, really is. Sometimes, see, with me, you know, I can send prayer, and I send prayer all the time. But sometimes I feel like, hang on a minute, you're in front of me for a reason. I feel I need to do something a little bit more than just send you away. I feel that I maybe need to show you that love. And maybe I can just touch your happiness as well. And I'll take that upon.
They're an assignment, a
Yes,
spiritual assignment. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. I like that. A spiritual assignment. And sometimes I feel that our guides are saying, hey, hang on, this person's here for a reason. Don't just send them away. They're here, Darren, because there's something you can do to offer them. And we want you to do that. And listen to the power of the spirit. Listen to the voice within, because it will always tell you. And if you listen to the soul, you'll always be fit. You'll always be pulled one way, because the soul will always take you the right way. And sometimes you might make a decision and go, do you know what? That's not right. I need to go back. I need to go and do, because that's the soul saying, don't walk away. Come on. There's something in there. You've learned a lot in your world. Let's touch their world with it as well.
Do plants have souls?
Yes, they have an energy. Absolutely. All living, everything living in this world has all got an energetic field. If you look at a plant and you say to yourself, how the hell do you grow? You know, we give a little bit of water to you. The next minute you're up like that and the sun comes, because it all comes from the presence of energy. The sun is energy. It's our energy. The sun predicts everything that happens in our world. It makes our plants grow. It, you know, determines the powers of the storm and everything. All of our weather, everything that happens, all happens underneath the bright light of life. Now, without, this is why we talk about the light, you know, without the sun, nothing will survive. The trees wouldn't survive, plants wouldn't survive. So the power of bright light, this is why we talk about the soul. The brighter your light, the more your eminence on growing will happen and help to help other people grow. So plants have an energy field as well. It's an energy. It's like if you look at a jellyfish, you know, it hasn't got a brain and it hasn't got a heart, but it's alive. It's energy, presence of energy. So plants, trees, if you ever look at a tree, and because I can see it, if you ever look at a tree, you'll see the energetic field around the tree. You'll see it. You can see it. Sometimes you might squint your eyes, but you'll catch it. And it's the white energetic field because it's life form. Everything doesn't have to have a heart. That's only the physical body that has a heart. But everything else is ongoing energy. It's just power. It's energy. It's essence. And of course, it's soul. So all the plants have soul. Everything. Even our little tiny ants. You know, when we go, oh, there's an ant down there. He's got a little soul. That's his little soul. And he loves it. He loves it. Everything has got the power and presence of God moves through all living embolisms. God moves through all of it. The power and the presence of God and love moves through everything. If we ever look at a flower, sometimes, you know, if you look at a flower, sometimes a flower can actually take your breath away. You look at it, you think, oh my God, that's so beautiful. Soul to soul. Yeah. That's what it is. Our soul recognizes the presence of the soul of the plant, the flower. It's so beautiful. That's how we magnetize. It's all soul.
So we're coming up to the top of the hour. Do you have any top tips for positive development of our soul?
Again, it's, you know, I don't like to condition people as in a way of what to do. I feel like what people should do is that they should, you know, we've all loved someone. We've all loved somebody, whether it's our parents, our children, you know, a partner. We've all loved somebody. And sometimes we've loved to the point where it actually suffocates us, you know, especially when you're first in love when you're younger. And it's like, oh, you don't want to leave them, do you? You know, that's love. And sometimes we need to feel the presence of that. And sometimes we need to actually, you know, experience that presence and power of love. And if we can feel that within, then we can show that on the outside. And I feel that in life that we listen too much up here and don't listen enough in here. And I feel that there's a struggle between here and there. And sometimes, or most of the time, the head overpowers the soul. And I feel that we need to touch the presence of soul for us to understand what life is all about. And, you know, if you woke up in the morning and, you know, there's lots of ways of people conditioning you to believe in this and believe in that. I feel that if you wake up in the morning and absolutely ecstatically happy for that you've opened your eyes That's the first thing you can always do, is just go, God, thank you so much, because I know last night thousands of people haven't opened their eyes this morning because they've passed to the Spirit. I thank you, God, for allowing me to open my eyes. You have the gift of life. There's the first part. There's the first port of call. Be happy that God's gave you the gift of life. Embark upon a journey in your day by saying to yourself, that's not a person there, that's a soul. It's not a physical person, that's a soul. They are having the same journey as what I am. And I like to be happy. I want to smile. I want to experience love. And I want to do all these wonderful things. And I wish that person can do the things that they want to do. And if I can help them to maybe, conquer that journey in that day, then I will do. And the first thing I will do is I will share a smile. Because sometimes a smile might not change someone's life, but it can change their day. And if you can change someone's day with a smile, then you're halfway there. But always allow for the power of love to actually touch every decision that you make in your world. And if you do that, you'll start on that journey of being able to understand that life is not about hatred. It's not about being horrible to people. It's not about anything to do with destroying. It's about making. It's about permitting life to be of a value. And of course, within that value has to be the presence of love. So embark upon your day, firstly, by saying, thank you, God. And everything I do today is I'm going to share a smile. Whether I get it back or not, doesn't make any difference, but I will share it. And every life, every person that I look at is not a physical person. They're a soul. And they all belong to the power and the presence of God where I came from. So I'm going to help as many people as I can to touch the presence of love within them. And I think you're on a winner there.
Yeah,
I think you're
great. And I think also in this dimension, there is no such thing as scarcity. So we don't need to be in competition with each other.
Absolutely not.
And the power of gratitude can just multiply the blessings around.
Yeah, if you look at everything, if we look at all levels of consciousness, the more power and energy we feel into that consciousness, the more it will grow, the more it goes on, and the more it can emanate into the power of everybody's consciousness, which then embarks on the presence of the soul. So it's like an onward cycle. If we can be able to present it to the world, let it grow within power, that comes back to our soul, which then emanates that power of spirituality, which then we can take that with us upon our journey of eternal life.
I think also sometimes we don't realize the impact we always have on people, even just with the simple things, unless they tell us further down the line. We'll know it in our life reviews, but sometimes somebody has said to me, oh, you really inspired me to do XYZ. And at the time, I had no idea I was inspiring anybody to do anything. And it was news to me when they told me that.
But it's nice, though, because that means that you've touched their soul.
Yeah.
You've touched the presence and the essence of them, and that inspired them upon their journey. And of course, at the end of the day, then you're putting a presence of your power of love into their soul. And of course, that's where consciousness starts, because we're all part of the same consciousness.
Is there any final comment you'd like to make?
I think for me, this has been a very long understanding of life, is to understand the presence of the soul. But I feel here that if you can allow for the presence of love to touch your life in whatever way it is, whether it's a flower, a pet, a loved one, or whatever it is, even a painting on the wall, if you can allow for the flames of love to ignite within the soul, then you'll start to push yourself upon to a journey which will unravel all levels of understanding, and just understand that God is the one that placed us here, and God will be the one that takes us when the time is right. So understand that your soul journey is what you can make of your life, not within a physical form, but within a spiritual presence. a lot of people say, you know, I want this big house, I want a big car. You know, we always hear it. Of course, you know, you can't take anything with you. Why not put the energy of wanting the big house and the big flash car and all the money in the bank? Why don't you put that into the presence of understanding that we're all here in the same dimension, under the same sun, and we're all here with the same makings of love? Why don't we help to ignite the flames of love in somebody else? And that helps us to embark upon the same journey. When you see the homeless man sitting along the road, don't look at him and say, oh, it's your fault. Just look at him and say, bless you, my son. I need to go and get you a cup of tea. And I hope that God provides you with a warm bed every single night. But me giving you a cup of tea, there's a little ember of my love for you. And I hope that one day, you know, you'll find what it is that you're looking for upon your journey.
We've got a question in the chat box. Darren, how would you say you have developed your relationship with your soul during your life?
I would say that my relationship with my soul is listening to myself and listening to the power of love. And that's how I've started with it. But then as I've developed a little bit further, then understanding the power of the spirit as well. They've helped me to open up the avenues of the trees where I couldn't probably see so much. And of course, understanding the presence of people's, you know, grief when they go through grief, you know, to see a tear on someone's face because they've lost someone. To me, it's like, let me try and wipe that and give you some kind of understanding that that person hasn't gone. You know, their soul is still around, and of course you will get to see them one day. And you know, the truest saying, what they say in this world, is the truest lie is the word of death, because there is no death. It's only a physical movement. And of course, it, you know, we move on to the power of the spirit there. But for me, it's understanding myself and understanding the power of love that I have, and understanding that I can share that with people. And it doesn't take it from me, it actually allows it to grow.
Wonderful, thank you. We'll stop the recording in a minute, and we'll go into chat with those who are in the Zoom room if they want to ask any further questions. Darren, that was an amazing hour. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Really insightful. I've certainly learned so much. And what you say is very powerful, and you give some wonderful tips for leading better lives on a spiritual level. So your insights are absolutely profound, and you've certainly touched all of us in the Zoom room and those who will be watching on catch up. So thank you so very much.
Thank you.
I'll stop the recording now.